"We're not spending money on that circus," my daughter-in-law said, canceling my 70th birthday party. My son added, "You're too old for that anyway, Mom." I just replied, "No problem." Weeks later, my daughter-in-law wouldn't stop calling me. I smiled and sent her a text. "The circus is closed, and I'm done being your clown." But let me tell you how I got to that text. Because nobody is born with the courage to set boundaries. You learn that after you've been broken enough. It all started on a Tuesday. I remember because it was farmer's market day, and I had just bought fresh carnations for the vase in the entryway. I've always believed a house without flowers is like a heart without a beat. I was arranging them when my phone rang. It was Natalie, my daughter-in-law. "Eleanor, I need to talk to you." Her voice had that tone, the one she used when she wanted something but disguised it as concern. Me, still naive back then, thought maybe she wanted advice about Michael, my son. After all, they had been married for 3 years, and I always tried to be the mother-in-law who doesn't meddle, the one who respects their space. "Of course, dear, what is it?" "It's about your birthday." My heart skipped a beat. My 70th birthday was 3 weeks away, and I had been dreaming about this get-together for months. Nothing fancy, just family. Michael, Natalie, my 2 sisters who live in Ohio, my cousins, a few neighbors I've known forever. I wanted to make my famous brisket, the one my mother taught me to make that takes 2 full days. I wanted to set the table with the embroidered tablecloth I save for special occasions. I wanted to feel, even just for a few hours, that my family was complete. Because, you see, I raised Michael alone since I was 35 years old. His dad, Robert, died of a sudden heart attack while he was cleaning the gutters on the roof. One second he was whistling a Johnny Cash song, the next he was gone. Michael was barely 8 years old. I remember how he clung to my skirt at the funeral, trembling, asking me if his dad was coming back. I worked double shifts at the local alterations shop for 15 years. My hands still have the needle marks, little scars that look like constellations. I sewed prom dresses, wedding suits, school uniforms. Every stitch was so Michael could have new shoes, school supplies, a computer when he got into high school. I never remarried. Not because I didn't have opportunities. There was a man, Mark, who owned the local hardware store, who invited me for coffee every Sunday after church. He was kind, a widower too, but I always thought, what if Michael feels like he's betraying his dad? What if a stranger makes him feel pushed aside? So I turned down every invitation with a polite smile. Now, at 68 years old, living in the same house Robert and I built brick by brick, I just wanted one party, a celebration to say, "I made it, I got here." "Tell me, Natalie, what's wrong with my birthday?" There was a pause. I heard her inhale, like she was bracing herself. "Look, Eleanor, Michael and I have been thinking, and the truth is, we're not going to be able to organize anything. We're not going to spend money on that circus." A circus. She called my dream a circus. "Besides," she continued, "you're too old for that, don't you think? Parties are for young people. You need quiet, not stress." I felt something inside me crack, like when you drop a porcelain cup, and for a second, before it shatters, you see the crack spread in slow motion. "But," I thought, I know, but things are tight right now, Eleanor. We have so many expenses. Maybe we can take you out for a simple meal another day, okay?" Before I could answer, I heard Michael's voice in the background. "Give me the phone." "Mom," my son said, with that tone he used when he wanted to be firm but not cruel. "You're too old for that, Mom. A big gathering is just going to wear you out. Let's just keep it quiet, okay?" I looked at the carnations in the vase. They were still dripping water onto the mahogany table that had been my grandmother's, the table where Michael did his homework for 12 years, where we celebrated every one of his birthdays with cake and candles, even if the cake was sometimes from the cheapest bakery because I couldn't afford more. "No problem," I said. My voice sounded calm, too calm. "Perfect, Mom. We love you. We're busy right now. We'll call you later." He hung up. I stood there, phone in hand, watching a drop of water from the vase form a small puddle on the wood. I didn't cry. Not yet. But something inside me knew, in that precise moment, that my relationship with my son had just changed forever. What I didn't know was that this call was just the beginning. And what Natalie didn't know was that she was waking up a lioness who had been dormant for decades. If you want to know how this story of betrayal turned into my greatest lesson in dignity, subscribe to the channel. Because what comes next, nobody saw coming, not even me. That night, I couldn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling of my bedroom, counting the cracks that had formed over the years. 42. I've counted them so many times I know them by heart. I kept thinking about the word Natalie used, circus. When did my life become a ridiculous spectacle for her? I got up at 4 in the morning, like always. I made coffee in the old percolator Robert gave me on our first anniversary. The smell of fresh coffee filled the kitchen, and for a moment, just a moment, I felt at peace. But then I saw the calendar hanging next to the refrigerator. I had marked my birthday with a red circle and drawn little stars around it, like an excited child. How foolish. I tore the page off the calendar, crumpled it, and threw it in the trash. But I couldn't help fishing it back out, smoothing the paper with trembling hands, and tucking it into the drawer where I keep old memories. Because that's who I am. I even saved the pain. What hurt most wasn't the canceled party. It was realizing I had been blind for 3 whole years. Let me go back. Let me tell you how Natalie came into our lives. It was in May, 3 years ago. Michael came to the house with that nervous smile he gets when he has something important to say. I was watering the pots on the porch. I've always had plants, geraniums, bougainvillea, a little basil plant I use for soup. Mom, I want you to meet someone. And there she was. Natalie. With her perfectly straight hair, her pale pink nails, her white blouse without a single wrinkle. She smelled like expensive perfume, the kind they sell at the department store in the mall. It's so nice to meet you, Mrs. Johnson. Michael has told me so much about you. Her smile was wide, her teeth perfectly white. She held out her hand, and when I took it, I noticed her skin was soft hands that had never scrubbed floors or washed laundry by hand. Call me Eleanor, dear, I said. We're not formal here. We went inside. Natalie looked at everything with those big, expressive eyes. She stopped in front of the shelf where I keep the family photos. What a lovely family, she said, picking up the picture frame where Robert, Michael, and I were at Myrtle Beach. Michael was 5 and had just lost his first tooth. You look so happy. We were, I replied, and it was true. That first afternoon, Natalie helped me make dinner. I made roast chicken, Michael's favorite. She chopped the tomatoes and onions for the salad, asking me about recipes, about how I met Robert, about my work at the alterations shop. It must be beautiful to create dresses with your own hands, she said. I don't have that talent. I'm a disaster in the kitchen. She laughed, that crystal-clear laugh that made Michael look at her like she was the only woman in the world. After dinner, while we were washing the dishes, Natalie said something that seemed so sweet at the time. Eleanor, I want you to know I'm going to take good care of Michael. And I hope you'll teach me to be as strong as you are. My mom died when I was little, and I always wanted a mother-in-law who could be like a second mother to me. I got emotional. My eyes even watered. I hugged her right there, my hands full of soap suds. You're going to be part of this family, dear, and the doors here are always open. How naive I was. The next few months were a dream. Natalie would visit me every Sunday. She'd bring pastries from that expensive French bakery near her office. She gave me hand creams, embroidered handkerchiefs, chocolates. I saw this and thought of you, Eleanor. When Michael announced they were getting married, I cried tears of joy. My son had finally found someone. Finally, he wouldn't be alone when I was gone. The wedding was simple. I sewed my own dress, a navy blue one with lace appliques. Natalie looked radiant in her white gown. During the reception, when Michael danced with me as tradition dictates, he whispered in my ear, "Thanks for everything, Mom. For every sacrifice. I promise. Now I'm going to take care of you." That promise. How it would hurt to remember it later. The first few months of their marriage seemed perfect. They still came over every Sunday. Natalie would hug me, ask how I was, offer to help with the groceries. But then I started to notice things. Little things. One Sunday, Natalie was walking through the living room and stopped in front of the wooden bookshelf where I keep the family albums and some of the decorative plates I collect. Oh, Eleanor, you still have all these old things? They were my grandmother's, I replied. They're over 70 years old. Of course. It's just, I don't know. I think the house would look more modern without so much old stuff. Have you ever thought about updating a little? Michael laughed. Natalie has a great eye for design, Mom. Maybe you should listen to her. I didn't say anything, but something in my chest tightened. Another afternoon, we were having coffee. Natalie was looking out the window at the garden. You know, Eleanor, this house is awfully big for just you, isn't it? Well, yes, it feels empty sometimes, I admitted. But it's my home. Michael grew up here. All my memories are here. Of course. I'm just saying, maintaining a house like this must be expensive. The property taxes, the water, the electricity. Have you ever thought about something more practical? A little condo, for example. Natalie, Michael interrupted her. Leave her alone. But I noticed he was looking at the house differently, too. Like he was evaluating it, calculating. The visits started to spread out. They didn't come every Sunday anymore. First, it was every 2 weeks, then once a month. We're just so busy, Mom. My schedule is impossible, Eleanor. You know how it is. I understood, or at least I told myself I did. They're young. They have their own lives. I can't be the suffocating mother-in-law who demands attention. But when I called them, Natalie would answer, rushed. Eleanor, I'm swamped right now. I'll call you back. She never called back. And when they did come, Natalie no longer helped me in the kitchen. She'd sit in the living room, scrolling through her phone, while I made the meal alone. She didn't bring pastries anymore. She didn't ask how I was. One afternoon, while I was serving the chili I'd been cooking since morning, I overheard a conversation I wasn't supposed to hear. They were on the patio. They thought I was in the kitchen, but I had walked over to close the window because it was getting breezy. Seriously, Michael, your mom should sell this house. Look at it, it's falling apart, and the land must be worth a fortune with the way this neighborhood is going. Natalie, I already told you. No, you don't get it. We need the down payment for the condo, and she's here, all alone, holding on to this mansion. It doesn't make sense. Talk to her. She'll understand. It's not that easy. Of course it's easy. Tell her it's for her own good. That a smaller place is safer for an older person. You'll see, she'll agree. My hand was trembling as I held the chili ladle. I closed the window harder than I needed to. When I returned to the table, I smiled as if nothing was wrong. But that night, lying in my bed, I understood something I had been denying for months. Natalie never saw me as family. She saw me as a resource. And my son, the boy I raised alone, the one who swore to take care of me, was letting it happen. But I hadn't seen anything yet. The mask was just beginning to slip. And when it finally fell off completely, I would realize I had been living with a stranger. Exactly 9 days passed since the call where they canceled my birthday. 9 days in which I heard nothing from them. Not a call, not a text, nothing. I continued my routine. I got up, made my coffee, watered my plants, watched my afternoon soaps. But there was something different about me. A kind of constant alert. Like when you know it's going to rain, but the sky is still clear. On the 10th day, Michael called. Mom, what are you doing Saturday? Nothing in particular, son. Why? We want to invite you to dinner. At our house. Natalie is going to cook. Natalie, cooking. That was new. In 3 years of marriage, I'd never seen her make anything more elaborate than a sandwich. Of course, son. I'll be there, perfect. Around 7. And Mom, dress up a little. That last phrase stuck with me. Dress up for a family dinner at their house? On Saturday, I put on my sky blue blouse, the one with embroidery on the collar. I pulled my hair back into a low bun, the way my mother taught me. I put on the pearl earrings Robert gave me for our 10th anniversary. I looked in the mirror and wondered why I had butterflies in my stomach. Butterflies of fear. I took the bus to their neighborhood. They live in a new subdivision, one of those with security gates and perfectly paved streets. Their house is nice, 2 stories with a small front yard. When they opened the door, I noticed something strange. The table was set, but not casually. There was a tablecloth I didn't recognize, wine glasses, napkins folded into flowers, and only 3 places. "Mom, come in. So glad you made it." Michael kissed my cheek. He smelled like that expensive cologne he wears now, not the one I used to buy him for his birthdays. Natalie came out of the kitchen, drying her hands on a dish towel. She was wearing a black dress, perfect makeup, and heels, to be at home on a Saturday night. "Eleanor, welcome. Sit down, sit down." She pointed to the chair in the middle. They sat on either side of me, as if they were surrounding me. Dinner started calmly. Natalie had made chicken with mushroom sauce. It was dry, and the sauce tasted like it came from a can. But I ate without complaint. We talked about nothing important. The weather, the news, the traffic. But I could feel the tension. It hung in the air like smoke. It was after dessert that everything changed. Michael cleared his throat. He exchanged a look with Natalie. She nodded, encouraging him. "Mom, we want to talk to you about something important." I put my fork down. My hands felt cold. "Tell me, son." "You see, Natalie and I have been thinking about our future. We want to buy a bigger condo. This one is getting small for us, and, well, we're thinking about having kids soon." My heart leaped. "Grandchildren? That's wonderful." "Oh, Michael, how lovely. How can I help?" Michael stared at his plate. Natalie took control of the conversation. "Look, Eleanor, the condo we want costs $600,000. We have the loan approved, but we need $120,000 for the down payment. $120,000. The figure floated in the air like a sentence. "That's a lot of money," I said slowly. "It is," Natalie continued, leaning toward me. "That's why we thought. Well, you're living alone in that big house. It must be exhausting to maintain. The taxes, the utilities, the repairs, and at your age, I'm 68, Natalie. Not 80. Right. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying, a smaller place would be more practical for you, safer, and the money you'd get from the sale could help us with the down payment. You could rent a nice, modern apartment without all the maintenance." I looked at my son. I waited for him to say something, to defend me. To say this was crazy. But Michael just stared at his wine glass, swirling it slowly. "It's your house, Mom," he finally said, without looking me in the eye. "But we're your family, and families support each other, right? Think about your grandkids, giving them a good home. Grandkids that didn't even exist yet. Grandkids they were using as bait." "This house," I said, my voice firmer than I expected. "Your father and I built it, brick by brick. You were born here. Every memory of my life with Robert is here. 35 years of my existence are here. Memories are in the heart, Eleanor, not in the walls." Natalie smiled at me, but her eyes were cold. "Besides, think about it. What are you going to do with that house when you can't take care of it anymore, when you're older and need help? It's better to sell it now while it's still worth something. Older." The word hit me like a slap. "I'm not trying to offend you," she continued. "I'm just being realistic. You're not going to live forever. And when you're gone, that house will be sold anyway. Wouldn't you rather see your son happy, settled, with his own family?" The silence that followed was thick. I could hear the ticking of the wall clock, the hum of the refrigerator, my own breathing. "I need to think about it," I said. "Of course," Michael replied quickly, as if he'd been waiting for that. "Take your time, Mom. No rush." But Natalie added, "Although the owner of the condo is only giving us 3 weeks to get the down payment. After that, he sells to someone else. 3 weeks, the exact same time until my birthday. The birthday they canceled because they didn't want to spend money on that circus. But they did want me to sell my house. My entire life." I stood up from the table. My legs were shaking, but I wouldn't let them see. "I'm leaving. I have to be up early tomorrow. We'll drive you, Mom." "No, I'll take the bus. I need some fresh air." I walked to the door. Natalie caught up, putting a hand on my shoulder. "Eleanor, think about it. It's for the good of everyone. You'd be winning too." I looked her in the eyes. For the first time in 3 years, I really saw her. I saw the ambition, the coldness, the manipulation. "Good night, Natalie." On the bus ride home, as the city lights passed by the window, I realized something terrible. My son was asking me to sell my life to finance his. And what was worse, he saw it as normal, as something I should do. I got home after 10 o'clock at night. I turned on the lights in the living room. I saw the mahogany furniture that had been my grandmother's, the photos on the walls, the bookshelf full of memories, the rocking chair where I nursed Michael for months. I sat in that rocking chair and finally, after days of holding it in, I cried. I cried for my naivete in believing Natalie cared for me. I cried for my son, who had become a stranger. I cried for the sacrifices I made that now seemed worthless. But among the tears, something else was growing. A rage, small, still, but real. Because I had given everything, absolutely everything, and now they wanted the only thing I had left. My phone buzzed. A text from Natalie. Eleanor, I hope we didn't make you uncomfortable. We just want what's best for everyone. Think about it with love. Kisses. Kisses. I closed my eyes. I took a deep breath. And for the first time in my life I thought, enough. On Monday morning, at 7 o'clock sharp, my phone rang. It was Natalie. Good morning, Eleanor. Did you have breakfast? Sleep well? Her voice was sweet. Too sweet. Like when you're talking to a child who won't take their medicine. Good morning, Natalie. Yes, thank you. Oh, good. Hey, have you thought about what we talked about on Saturday? Barely 36 hours had passed. I'm still thinking about it, dear. It's a big decision. Of course, of course. It's just that, time is ticking. We don't want to lose this opportunity. The condo is a gem. It has a view of a beautiful park. Imagine your grandkids playing there. Again with the imaginary grandkids. Yes, it sounds nice. So, do you think you'll have an answer by the weekend? That way we can start moving on everything quickly. Natalie, it's only been 2 days. I know, Eleanor. Sorry if I'm being pushy. It's just that I'm so excited. Michael and I have been dreaming about this for months. You understand, right? She hung up before I could answer. On Tuesday, she called at 8 in the morning. On Wednesday, at 7:30. On Thursday, twice. Once in the morning and again in the afternoon. Always the same song. Always the same pressure disguised as enthusiasm. Have you thought about it, Eleanor? Eleanor, I found a divine rental near us. Want to go see it? The seller pressured me today. He says he has other interested buyers. On Friday afternoon, I was at the market buying tomatoes when I saw a car park in front of my house. It was Michael's, but he wasn't alone. There was a man with a briefcase, gray suit, blue tie. I quickened my pace. When I arrived, I found Natalie at my door with this man. She was ringing the doorbell insistently. Natalie, what are you doing here? She turned with a huge smile. Oh, Eleanor, so glad we caught you. Look, I brought Mr. Duran. He's a real estate agent. I thought it would be good for him to explain how much you could get for your little house. Just so you have all the information, right? Little house. Now my house was a little house. Mr. Duran extended his hand. Mom, a pleasure. Your daughter-in-law hired me to do a preliminary appraisal. With your permission, I'd like to take a quick look at the property. Just from the outside, of course. Then I can give you an estimate. I didn't authorize any appraisal. Of course not, Eleanor. Natalie came over, taking my arm. It's just informational. So you know your options. No commitment. I looked at Mr. Duran, then at Natalie. Her eyes were shining with something that wasn't love. It was something else. Hunger. No, thank you. When I need a real estate agent, I'll hire one myself. Natalie's smile wavered for a second. Just a second. As you wish, Eleanor. We were just trying to help. They left. But the message was clear. They weren't giving up. That night, Michael called. His voice was tired. Mom, Natalie told me you turned away the appraiser. Michael, I never asked for an appraiser. I know, but you're making this harder than it needs to be. Harder for who, son? Silence. For everyone. Mom. Look, I know it's your house, and it has sentimental value, but you have to be practical. Think about the future. Your old age. Who's going to take care of you when you can't manage on your own? And selling my house will make you want to take care of me? That's not it. It's just. Natalie is really stressed. The doctor says the stress could affect. Well, we think we might be expecting. It's not certain yet, but there it was. The final bait. A baby. Maybe. Perhaps. Possibly. Son, if Natalie is pregnant, I'm very happy for you. But that doesn't change my situation. Your situation? His voice rose. Mom, we are your situation. We are your family. If you really loved us, you would help us. But it seems like you care more about that house than your own son. Those words cut me like knives. Michael, forget it. I thought I could count on you. I thought after everything I did for you, you'd do this for me. But I was wrong. Everything I did for you? Michael, I raised you alone. I worked double shifts for 15 years. Yes, Mom, I know. You've reminded me 1,000 times. I sacrificed my life for you. I worked so hard for you. But I never asked for any of that. You decided to have me. You decided not to get remarried. Those were your decisions. He hung up. I stood there with the phone in my hand, shaking. Tears fell, and I couldn't stop them. My son had just said I reminded him too much of my sacrifices, that he never asked me to raise him. I sat in the rocking chair. Outside, the night was dark. Not even the neighborhood dogs were barking. Everything was silent. I thought about all the nights I stayed awake when Michael had a fever, putting cold cloths on his forehead. I thought about the times I skipped meals so he could have 3 a day. I thought about the shoes I mended time and time again because I couldn't afford new ones. And now he was telling me he never asked for it. On Saturday, Natalie showed up again. This time, she had brochures. Eleanor, look, I found some gorgeous apartments for rent. This one has 1 bedroom, a kitchenette. It's on the 1st floor, so you won't have to climb stairs. And it's only $1,800 a month. With what you get from your house, you can pay rent for years and still have enough left over to help us. I took the brochures. I looked at them. Apartments the size of my living room. Cold, white walls. No garden, no history. Natalie, I need more time. Her face hardened. The mask was slipping faster and faster. Time is what we don't have, Eleanor. I lose the condo on Monday, you understand? Monday. In 3 days. And all because you can't let go of an old house full of junk. That junk is my life. Your life is over. She looked me straight in the eye. I'm sorry if that sounds harsh, but it's the truth. Your husband died over 30 years ago. Michael grew up and has his own family now. You're clinging to a past that doesn't exist anymore. And in the meantime, we, your present, are here begging you for help. Begging, I repeated the word. Is that what you're doing? Begging? What else do you want us to do? Get on our knees? I want you to leave me alone. The words came out before I could stop them. Natalie froze. Then she laughed. A short, bitter laugh. Fine, we'll leave you alone. Enjoy your house. Enjoy your memories. Because that's all you're going to have. She left, slamming the door. I sat on the sofa. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my ears. I picked up my phone. I dialed a number I hadn't used in months. Carol? It's Eleanor. I need to talk to you. Carol had been my friend for 20 years. We met at the market. She sells flowers. She's one of those women who tells you the truth with no filter. Eleanor, what's wrong? You sound strange. I think my son and my daughter-in-law are trying to steal my house. There was a pause. I'm on my way. Carol arrived 20 minutes later with a bag of donuts and a thermos of coffee. When there's trouble, you have to eat, she said, putting everything on the table. Now, tell me everything, and don't skip a single part, I told her. From the call canceling my birthday to Natalie's visit that morning, Carol listened in silence, chewing her donut, her eyes narrowed behind her glasses. When I finished, she set her mug down with a thud. That girl is a snake, and your son is a fool. Carol. No, Eleanor, let's call it what it is. That woman is squeezing you dry, and Michael is letting her. You know what smells fishy to me? That they suddenly need $120,000 so urgently. I sell flowers, but I wasn't born yesterday. Something else is going on here. You think so? I don't think. I know. Look, my friend Rochelle works at a law firm. Her nephew is a lawyer. His name is Patrick. He's a good guy and discreet. Want me to call him? He can look into things, see if your suspicions are right. I hesitated. Investigate my own son? It sounded so cold, so calculating. But then I remembered Michael's voice saying, I never asked you to raise me. Call him. Patrick came over on Tuesday afternoon. He was a young man, about 35, with round glasses and a kind smile. He sat in my living room and took out a notebook. Mrs. Johnson, I understand you're in a delicate situation. Tell me exactly what you need. I explained everything again. He took notes, nodded, asked specific questions. Do you have their full legal names? Do you know where they work? Have they ever asked you to sign any documents? I answered everything. Patrick closed his notebook. Give me a week. I'm going to check a few things. Public records, background, basic credit situation. All legal. Don't worry. And in the meantime, ma'am, some advice. Do not sign anything. Absolutely nothing. Even if your son asks, even if they cry, even if they threaten. Understood? I nodded. Patrick left. I was left with a strange feeling, half relief, half guilt. What kind of mother investigates her son? But then my phone buzzed. Another text from Natalie. Eleanor, Monday is the deadline. Michael didn't sleep at all last night from the stress. I don't know if you want that on your conscience. Think about it. I deleted the message. The next few days were quieter. They didn't call. They didn't come by. It was like they had given me a reprieve. I took the opportunity to do something I'd been putting off. A deep clean of the garden. The May rains had made the weeds grow, and some of the rose bushes looked neglected. I was pruning the white rose bush I planted when Michael was born, when my shovel hit something metal. Strange. I dug a little more. It was a box. A rusted metal box, the size of a shoebox, buried under the rose bush. With trembling hands, I pulled it out. It was closed with an old padlock that broke with one pull. Inside were rolled-up documents, protected in plastic. I unrolled them on the dining room table. They were the original deeds to the house, the ones Robert and I signed 40 years ago. And there was something handwritten by Robert on the last page. This house is for Eleanor, built with our love and effort. Don't ever let anyone take it from you, my love. Tears started to fall on the paper. I had to wipe them away quickly so I wouldn't ruin the ink. But there was more in the box. Letters. Love letters Robert wrote me when we were dating. His tight handwriting, his clumsy but sincere words. Eleanor, you are stronger than 10 men. Don't ever let anyone make you feel small. And at the bottom of the box, wrapped in a thick plastic bag, was money. Old bills. I counted them with trembling hands. $20,000. A note accompanied the money, also in Robert's handwriting. For our old age together, honey. For when we can't work anymore. So you never have to depend on anyone. I love you, Robert. I collapsed into the chair. Robert had been saving in secret. For years. For me. For us. And I never knew because he died before he could tell me. I cried. I cried like I hadn't cried since his funeral. I cried for the man who loved me so much, who was still taking care of me even after he was gone. I cried for all the years I lost without him. I cried for the loneliness. But among the tears, something else was being born, a clarity. Robert had left me this for a reason, not just the money, but the words. Don't ever let anyone make you feel small. And that was exactly what Natalie and Michael were doing, making me feel small, useless, in the way. I dried my tears. I put the deeds in a safe place. I counted the money again, just to be sure. $20,000 exactly. It wasn't enough for the down payment Michael and Natalie were asking for, but it was enough for something more important. It was enough to defend myself. On Thursday, Patrick called. Mrs. Johnson, I need to see you. Can Carol be there too? What I found. It's better we discuss this in person. An hour later, the three of us were sitting in my living room. Patrick opened his briefcase and took out several papers. Ma'am, what I'm about to tell you is not easy to hear, but you need to know. My heart sped up. Your son, Michael, doesn't need your financial help. In fact, he's in a very good financial position. 3 months ago, he received a sales bonus from his company for $150,000. What? There's more. Your daughter-in-law, Natalie, has credit card debt totaling $45,000. Designer clothes, expensive restaurants, 2 trips to Cancun last year, and she is not pregnant. I checked her social media. 2 days ago, she posted a photo at a club drinking a beer. A pregnant woman wouldn't do that. Carol muttered a strong word I won't repeat. Patrick continued. There's something else. I found messages on a public forum where Natalie participates. She talks about convincing her mother-in-law to sell her house, and I quote, "The old woman is about to cave. When she sells, my mom and I will split what's left after the down payment." The world stopped. Her mom? Yes. Natalie planned to give a portion of the money to her mother. This was never just about the condo. It was a scheme between the two of them. I stood up, walked to the window. Outside, the neighborhood kids were playing street hockey. The sun was shining, life was going on, but I felt like something inside me had broken for good. Does Michael know about this? My voice was hoarse. I can't confirm that, but he knows they don't need the money. Of that, I'm certain. Carol took my hand. Eleanor, that girl is trying to rob you, and your son is letting her. I looked at the deeds I'd found under the rosebush. I looked at Robert's note. Don't ever let anyone make you feel small. I turned to Patrick. What can I do? Patrick smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. It was the smile of a lawyer who knows he's holding all the cards. Mrs. Johnson, I can do a lot of things. But first, you need to answer something for me. Do you want to defend yourself, or do you want to counterattack? Carol squeezed my hand. I thought about all the texts, the calls, the word circus, Michael telling me I never asked him to raise me, Natalie calling me old. And for the first time in 68 years, I said something I never thought I'd say. I want to counterattack. Patrick pulled more papers from his briefcase. Perfect. Then I need you to formally authorize me to act on your behalf. We're going to do this right, legally, so they can't turn this around on you. I signed the documents he put in front of me. My hand was shaking, but the signature was clear. Now, Patrick continued, I need access to any document you have related to your house. Deeds, tax receipts, utility bills. I also need to know if they've ever asked you to sign anything, even if it seemed unimportant. Just the deeds I found buried, and I've never signed anything for them. Good. That gives us an advantage. Your house is fully in your name, no liens or debts. No one can force you to sell it. But Natalie is going to try to pressure you more. And when she does, I need you to record the conversations. Record? Your phone has a voice recorder, right? Every time they call or visit, record everything. It's legal as long as you are part of the conversation. Those recordings can be evidence if we need it. Carol nodded. I'll show you how, Eleanor. It's easy. In the meantime, Patrick said, I'm going to dig deeper. I want to know exactly how much money they have, what else they're hiding, and if there's more to this. Do I have your authorization? Yes. I want to know the whole truth. Patrick left. Carol stayed with me, teaching me how to use the phone's recorder, making me practice until I got it right. Eleanor, one more thing, she said before she left. You have to be strong. When you find out everything, it's going to hurt a lot. But remember, you didn't cause this. They chose to treat you this way. I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Michael's face as a child. When he'd wake me up in the middle of the night to say he had a nightmare, I'd hold him. I'd sing to him softly until he fell back asleep. When did that boy turn into this man? On Friday morning, as expected, Natalie called. I activated the recorder. Eleanor, good morning. Look, I know we've been pressuring you, and I apologize. But we're really desperate. We lose the condo on Monday, and, well, Michael is devastated. He says you don't love him anymore. He says that? Yes. He cried last night. Eleanor, your son cried because of you. He says that after everything he's done, you're rejecting him when he needs you most. The words were perfect. The tone, dramatic. But I already knew the truth. Natalie, are you pregnant? There was a pause. Very brief, but I caught it. Well, it's not certain yet, but I have symptoms. That's why we need the bigger condo. For the baby. A lie. It was all a lie. And does Michael really need my help? Does he not have money saved? Another pause. Eleanor, you know how things are. Everything is so expensive. Of course Michael works hard, but it's not enough. That's why we need you. Because a mother always supports her children, right? Let me think about it this weekend. I'll give you a final answer on Monday. Monday? But Eleanor? Monday, Natalie. That's my final word. I hung up. I saved the recording with the date and time. On Saturday, Patrick showed up again. He was carrying a thick folder. Mrs. Johnson, I found everything. And it's worse than I thought. He sat across from me. He opened the folder. Michael didn't just get that $150,000 bonus. He also has another $30,000 in an investment account. He only needs to come up with another. $35,000 for the down payment. He could easily get a bridge loan from the bank. He doesn't need to sell your house. Then why? Because it's easier to get the money from you than for them to go into debt. And there's something more serious. Patrick pulled out printouts of phone screens. I managed to access public conversations between Natalie and her mother on social media. Look at this. I read. And with every word, I felt my heart shrink. Mother, did you convince the old woman yet? Remember, we need that cash for the business. Natalie. Almost. She's closer than I thought, but she's caving. Mother. I slipped in the baby story. You're the best. When you get the money, pass me my cut. $25,000 like we agreed. Natalie, deal. Even though the old woman gets on my nerves, all day with her memories and her old photos. I'm sick of her. Mother, just hang in there. Once she sells, you won't have to see her as much. The letters blurred. I was crying without realizing it. Keep reading, Patrick said softly. Natalie, does Michael still not know about your cut? Mother, better that way. Men just complicate things. Natalie, true. I've already brainwashed him anyway. Now he also thinks his mom should sell. It was easier than I thought. Carol, who had arrived while I was reading, put her arm around me. I couldn't stop shaking. There's more, Patrick said. Natalie's debts are from a failed business attempt. She and her mother wanted to open a boutique. They took out loans, bought expensive inventory, but never sold anything. Now they're drowning in debt. Her mother lost her house last year. That's why she's renting. And they want me to lose mine to save them. Exactly. The condo they want to buy does exist. But the rush is a lie. It's still available. The seller has no other buyers. I verified that too. I wiped my tears with the back of my hand. And Michael? Does he know all this? I can't prove that completely. But I found this. He showed me another message. This one was between Michael and Natalie. Michael, my mom is hesitating. Maybe we should try something else. Natalie, no. We've invested too much time in this. Your mom is stubborn, but she'll break. She just needs more pressure. Let me handle this. Michael, I don't know, Nat. I feel bad about this. Natalie, you feel bad about asking your mom for help? Seriously? She's lived in that house her whole life. She's had her turn. Now it's our turn. Stop being so soft. I closed my eyes. My son knew. Maybe he didn't know about the scheme with her mother. Maybe he didn't know about the $25,000. But he knew they were pressuring me unfairly. And he was allowing it. Mrs. Johnson, Patrick said, with this evidence, we can do several things. We can report them for attempted elder fraud. We can request a restraining order. We can. No. They both looked at me, surprised. I don't want to put them in jail. I don't want lawsuits. I want something better. What do you want? I dried my last tears. Inside me, something had changed. The pain was turning into something else, determination. I want them to feel what I felt. I want them to understand what they tried to do to me. I want justice, but not from a judge. I want life to charge them. Carol smiled. That's my Eleanor. Patrick nodded slowly. I understand. Do you have a plan in mind? Not yet, but on Monday, I'm giving them my answer. And it's going to be an answer they never forget. That night, I took the metal box out again. I read all of Robert's letters. When I got to the last one, I found one I hadn't seen before. It was stuck to the bottom of the box. My dearest Eleanor, if you're reading this, it means I'm gone. I want you to know you were the best part of my life. But I also want you to know something important. You are a lioness, not a pet. Don't let anyone, not even our son, make you feel like you are worth any less than you are. You are strong, stronger than me, stronger than the world. Never forget it. I love you forever. Robert. I folded the letter carefully. I won't forget, my love, I whispered. I promise you. On Sunday, I spent all day thinking, planning, preparing, because Monday wasn't going to be just any day. On Monday, the circus was finally going to close. Monday dawned with a gray sky, the kind of sky that threatens rain but never lets the drops fall. I woke up early, as always, made my coffee, watered the plants. I put on my wine-colored blouse, the one Robert said made me look elegant. I put my hair up. I put on a peach-colored lipstick I rarely use. If I was going to face them, I was going to look good doing it. At 10 in the morning, Natalie called. Eleanor, good morning. So, have you thought about it? Yes, Natalie, I have. Oh, wonderful. And? I need to talk to both of you, Michael and you, in person. Perfect. Can you come over today? We're home. All right. I'll come this afternoon. Better yet, come for lunch, Eleanor. We can talk calmly. I hung up. I looked at my reflection in the hallway mirror. I looked different. I was no longer the frightened woman from 2 weeks ago. There was something new in my eyes. I arrived at their house at 2 in the afternoon. I rang the bell. Michael opened the door with a nervous smile. Mom, come in. So glad you came. He kissed my cheek. He smelled like that expensive cologne. In the living room, Natalie was finishing setting the table. She had made breaded chicken with salad. Nothing fancy, but it looked presentable. Eleanor, welcome. Please, sit. Saturday. They sat on either side of me, just like that first time, as if they were cornering me. We ate in an awkward silence. I chewed slowly, watching them. Natalie fidgeted in her chair. Michael wouldn't meet my eyes. When we finished, Natalie wiped her mouth with her napkin and smiled. Well, Eleanor, you have us in suspense. What did you decide? Before I answer, I want to ask you something. Anything, Michael said quickly. Do you love me? They looked at each other, confused. Of course, Mom. Why would you ask that? Because I need to understand. I need to understand how someone who loves me asks me to sell the only thing I have. How someone who loves me cancels my birthday, calling it a circus. How someone who loves me calls me old and tells me my life is over. Natalie turned pale. Eleanor, I never. Yes, you did, Natalie. You said it. And Michael, you told me I never asked you to raise me. That those were my decisions. Mom, I was upset. And that justifies it? Anger justifies cruelty? The silence was heavy. Look, I continued. I came to give you my answer. I am not selling my house. Natalie went rigid. What? I am not selling my house. It is my home. It's where my life is, my memories, my history, and no one, not even you, is going to force me to leave it. Michael ran a hand through his hair. Mom, but we were counting on that. We already made plans. Plans based on my sacrifice. Again, always my sacrifice. Natalie shot up from her chair. There was no sweetness in her face now. You know what, Eleanor? You're right. Your house, your life, your decision. But don't ever ask us to take you to the doctor again. Don't ever ask us to keep you company. Don't wait for us on Sundays, because we're not coming. Natalie. Michael tried to stop her. No, Michael. I'm tired. Your mother is selfish. She only thinks about herself. We ask her for help one time, and she rejects us. Fine. Let her stay alone with her old house and her old junk. I stood up too. I wasn't shaking anymore. There were no more tears. Selfish? I'm selfish? I worked double shifts for 15 years so my son could have everything. I gave up my life, my chance to love again, my own dreams. And now that I'm 68 and I'm just asking to be left in peace with the little I have, I'm selfish? That was your decision, Natalie snapped. No one forced you. You're right. It was my decision. And now my decision is to tell you no. And if that makes me selfish, fine. I'd rather be selfish than stupid. I walked to the door. Michael caught up with me. Mom, wait. Don't go like this. We can talk about it. I looked at him. Really looked at him. And I saw a man I no longer recognized. There's nothing to talk about, son. You made your decision. And I've made mine. Mom, you'll regret this. Those words stopped me cold. I turned. Are you threatening me? It's not a threat. It's a reality. When you need help, when you're sick, when you're alone, we won't be there. Something inside me broke for good. Not with sadness, with liberation. Then I guess I'm already alone. Because a son who threatens me, a son who only wants me for my house, that son doesn't exist for me anymore. I left. I didn't run. I walked with my back straight, my head held high. But as soon as I turned the corner, I had to stop. I leaned against a wall, breathing deeply. I had done it. I had told them no. And it hurt. God, how it hurt. But it also felt good. Like taking off tight shoes after a long day. I got home as it was getting dark. Carol was waiting for me on the porch. How did it go? I told them no. She hugged me. And there, in my friend's arms, I finally cried. But they were different tears. Not of defeat, of relief. You did the right thing, Eleanor. I know. But it hurts. Of course it hurts. He's your son. But sometimes, self-love hurts more than loving others, and that's okay. That night, lying in my bed, I thought about everything. About the years I dedicated to Michael, the sacrifices, the sleepless nights, the unconditional love I gave him, and I understood something important. I didn't regret any of it. I regretted expecting him to value it, because a mother's love doesn't expect a reward. But it also doesn't accept abuse. On Tuesday morning, I woke up with a strange feeling, peace. For the first time in weeks, peace. I was having breakfast when my phone rang. Unknown number. Mrs. Johnson? Yes? Who's speaking? This is Diana Portillo. I'm your son Michael's neighbor. I'm sorry to bother you. I got your number from Mrs. Miller at the corner store. I need to talk to you. It's important. Did something happen? Not over the phone. Can you meet me at the corner bakery? The one on the corner by your son's house? Something in her voice alerted me. When? Today at 5. I'll be there. At 5 o'clock sharp, I walked into the bakery. Diana was a woman in her 40s, elegant, with short hair. She greeted me with a sad smile. Mrs. Johnson, thank you for coming. Look, I don't know if I should be getting involved, but my conscience won't let me rest. What is it? Last Saturday, Natalie threw a party at their house. She invited neighbors, friends, family. She said it was a surprise party for you. For your birthday. My birthday. The one they canceled. A surprise party? Yes, I went because I thought it was sweet. But then what? Mrs. Johnson. Natalie took the microphone and said something that struck me as very strange. What did she say? And I heard Natalie's voice, clear and cheerful. Thank you all for coming to celebrate my mother-in-law, Eleanor, on her 70th birthday. I want to take this chance to share some wonderful news. My mother-in-law, in an act of immense love, has decided to sell her house to help us with the down payment on our new condo. It's her way of showing us how much she loves us and cares about our future. Let's give a round of applause for this generous woman. Applause. Lots of applause. And then Michael's voice. Thanks, Mom. We knew we could count on you. Diana turned off the phone. Mrs. Johnson, everyone thought you had agreed voluntarily. Natalie told everyone you were happy to help them. Is that true? My hands were shaking. No, I never agreed. I told them no. Diana closed her eyes. I thought so. That's why I wanted to talk to you. Mrs. Johnson, your daughter-in-law used you. In front of 50 people, she used you to make herself look good. I sat in silence. I couldn't speak. I couldn't breathe. Do you have that full recording? Yes. Can you send it to me? Of course. Give me your number. That night, in my house, I listened to the full recording over and over. The applause. The congratulations. Natalie's words. They used me. They humiliated me publicly. They held me up as an example of generosity when I had never agreed to anything. And Michael was there, smiling, accepting congratulations for something that never happened. I called Patrick. Mr. Kelly, I've changed my mind. I don't just want to defend myself anymore. What do you want? I want them to pay. I want justice. And I want it now. Patrick arrived at my house at 9 o'clock on Wednesday morning. He was carrying another folder, thicker than the last. Mrs. Johnson, I listened to the recording you sent me. This changes everything. What they did is defamation and misuse of your likeness. But I have a better idea than a lawsuit. What? We're going to give them exactly what they want. Or at least, we're going to make them think we are. Carol, who was also there, leaned forward. Explain yourself, kid. Patrick smiled. It was a smile that was a little frightening. We're going to set up a meeting. We'll tell them Mrs. Johnson has finally agreed to sell. We'll have witnesses, evidence, everything ready, and when they show their true colors in front of everyone, that's when we act. I don't understand, I said. Ma'am, they humiliated you publicly by saying you agreed to help. Now, we are going to expose them publicly by showing who they really are. But I need your permission. And I need you to be strong. It's going to hurt. I thought about the recording, about Michael accepting congratulations for a lie, about Natalie using my name to look good. Let's do it. I spent the next few days preparing. Patrick explained the plan step by step. I just had to follow his instructions. On Friday, I called Michael. I activated the recorder. Son, it's me. There was a surprised pause. Mom? I wasn't expecting your call. I know. Look, I've been thinking a lot about what happened on Monday. And I think you're right. What? The house is too big for me. I'm old. And you're my family. If selling it helps, then I'm going to do it. Silence. A long silence. Mom, are you serious? Yes, son, I'm serious. But I have one condition. What is it? I want it to be formal. With a notary, with witnesses, I want to do it right. And I want you and Natalie to come to my house on Saturday at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. We'll sign everything then. Mom, thank you. Thank you. I knew you'd understand. I love you. Those words, I love you, sounded so empty now. I'll see you on Saturday, son. I hung up. I saved the recording. Carol hugged me. Eleanor, are you sure about this? More sure than I've ever been. Saturday dawned sunny. Ironic. The important days of my life had always been cloudy or rainy. But this day, the day it would all end, the sun was shining. Patrick arrived at 2 o'clock with 2 other people, a notary public named Mr. Estrada and a woman he introduced as his legal assistant, Monica. Mrs. Johnson, Mr. Estrada is completely trustworthy. Monica is going to film everything. Ready? Ready. Carol and her husband Bill were also there as witnesses. And Diana, the neighbor who had shown me the party recording. She had agreed to come when I asked. At 4 o'clock sharp, the doorbell rang. It was Michael and Natalie. She was wearing a new dress, perfect makeup, a huge smile. Michael had on an ironed shirt and looked nervous, but happy. Mom, Michael hugged me tight. Thank you for reconsidering. You don't know what this means to us. Natalie hugged me too. Eleanor, you are an angel, truly. An angel. I pointed to the living room. Come in. We need to make this formal. When they walked in and saw all the people, Natalie stopped short. Who are they? Mr. Estrada is a notary public. Patrick is my lawyer. Carol and Bill are witnesses. And Diana. Well, Diana is someone who has something interesting to show you. Natalie's smile began to fade. Your lawyer? Mom, why do you need a lawyer? Michael looked at me, confused. Please, sit down. They sat on the sofa. The rest of us formed a semicircle around them. Monica had her camera pointed. Before we sign anything, I began, I want to clarify a few points. Of course, Mom. Whatever you need. First, I want you to explain something. 2 weeks ago, you threw a party. A party where you told 50 people that I had agreed to sell my house. Why did you do that? Natalie turned white. Michael looked at his wife. Natalie? Well, we assumed you were going to accept. We were just anticipating things. Anticipating. Interesting word. Diana, could you play the recording? Diana took out her phone. Natalie's voice filled the living room. My mother-in-law, in an act of immense love, has decided to sell her house to help us. Michael closed his eyes. Natalie stood up. This is a trap. No, Natalie. This is the truth. Now sit down, because we have a lot more to talk about. Patrick opened his folder. Mrs. Natalie, can you confirm that you have credit card debts totaling $45,000? That's private. Can you confirm that you plan to give $25,000 to your mother from the proceeds of the sale? Natalie froze. Michael stared at her. What? And, Mr. Michael, Patrick continued, can you confirm that you received a bonus of $150,000 3 months ago? My son looked at me. There was no confusion in his eyes now. There was fear. Mom, I can explain. No need, son. Mr. Kelly already explained everything to me. Natalie's debts, the failed business with her mother, the bonus you received, the pregnancy that never existed. Everything. Natalie tried to leave. Bill blocked the door. Nobody's leaving until we're finished, Carol said in a firm voice. Mrs. Johnson, the notary, Mr. Estrada, said, do you confirm that you never had any intention of selling your house? That's right. Never. And do you confirm that you were pressured, manipulated, and publicly defamed by these individuals? I confirm. Estrada wrote in his documents. Then I must inform you, Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, that what you attempted to do constitutes several crimes: attempted fraud by deception, financial elder abuse, and defamation. Mrs. Johnson has the right to press criminal charges. Natalie started to cry. But they weren't tears of remorse. They were tears of rage. This is ridiculous. He's her son. We just asked for help. No, Natalie, I said, standing up. You didn't ask for help. You tried to rob me. There's a difference. Michael had his head in his hands. Mom, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't know everything, Natalie told me. What did she tell you, son? That I was old? That my life was over? That you should pressure me? Because I have recordings where you told me horrible things too. I took out my phone. I played his voice. I never asked for any of that. Those were your decisions. Michael broke. He started to sob. Not like a man. Like a child. Forgive me, Mom, please. Patrick cleared his throat. Mrs. Johnson, do you wish to proceed legally? Everyone was looking at me. Natalie with hatred. Michael with desperation. Carol with pride. Diana with curiosity. I thought of Robert, of his letters, of his words. You are a lioness. I'm not going to put my son in jail, I said finally, but I am setting conditions. What conditions? Michael asked in a hoarse voice. 1. I don't want to see either of you for 1 full year. 0 contact, 0 calls, 0 visits. Mom. 2. You will both post a public apology on social media, admitting you lied about my so-called agreement to sell the house, admitting you pressured me unfairly. Natalie stood up again. Never. 3, I continued, not looking at her. Michael will go to therapy, individual therapy, to understand why he allowed his wife to treat me this way. I accept, Michael said immediately. And 4, if you ever approach me again with intentions of manipulating or hurting me, Patrick will proceed with all possible legal charges, and this time there will be no mercy. The notary wrote everything down. Do you accept these terms? Michael nodded. I accept everything, Mom. Everything. Natalie crossed her arms. This is abuse. No, Natalie, I said, looking her straight in the eye. Abuse is what you did to me. This is justice. And if you don't accept, my lawyer proceeds with the criminal complaint right now. Patrick held up some papers. They're all ready. Just need your signature, Mrs. Johnson. Natalie gritted her teeth. I accept. They signed. Each of them. Carol and Bill signed as witnesses. The notary stamped everything. Done, Patrick said. This is legally binding. If you break any term, we will proceed. Michael approached me. He tried to take my hand. I pulled away. Mom, please let me explain. You have 1 year, Michael. 1 year to think about what kind of man you want to be. The one who lets his mother be abused, or the one Robert and I tried to raise. Mom, now, please, leave. They left. Natalie stormed out first, furious. Michael stopped at the door. He looked at me one last time, and left. When the door closed, I collapsed onto the sofa. Carol hugged me. I cried. I cried like I hadn't cried in years. But these were different tears. They were tears of liberation. The following days were strange, silent. There were no calls at 7 in the morning. No texts asking if I'd thought about it. No surprise visits with real estate agents. Just silence. And that silence, which once would have scared me, now felt like a gift. On Tuesday afternoon, Carol came by with sweet rolls and coffee. How's CeeLo? Better. Much better. Did you see social media? I shook my head. I barely used Facebook, and only to see pictures of my cousin's kids. Carol took out her phone. Michael posted this yesterday. She showed me the screen. It was a long post, with a photo of Michael alone. Without Natalie, I want to offer a public apology. A few weeks ago, my wife and I hosted a gathering where we announced that my mother had decided to sell her house to help us financially. That information was false. My mother never agreed to such a thing. We pressured her, manipulated her, and used her name without her permission. My mother is a dignified woman who did not deserve that treatment. I am publicly asking for forgiveness for my behavior. I am ashamed of the person I became. I'm sorry, Mom. I read the words 3 times. There were 847 comments, most of them supportive of me. Some were harshly critical of Michael, others of Natalie. Did Natalie post anything? Carol checked her profile. Look, Natalie's message was shorter, colder. I apologize for any confusion regarding my mother-in-law's situation. It was a misunderstanding. I regret any inconvenience caused. She didn't even take direct responsibility. It was a non-apology. That woman is a lost cause, Carol said. I closed my eyes. Part of me wanted to feel satisfaction, but I just felt tired. At least Michael followed through, I said. Yes, but did you see the comments? People are furious with them. I didn't want to read any more. I closed Carol's phone and handed it back. That's enough. I don't want to know any more about them. On Thursday, Patrick called. Mrs. Johnson, I need to inform you of something. Natalie tried to contact me. She wants to negotiate the terms. What? She says a year of no contact is too much, that it's inhumane, that you are being cruel, I laughed. I couldn't help it. A bitter laugh. What did you tell her? I told her the terms are non-negotiable and that if she insists, we will proceed with the charges. She backed down after that. Thank you, Mr. Kelly. You're welcome. Oh, and one more thing. Your son is going to therapy. I verified it with the therapist I recommended. He has attended 3 sessions already. That surprised me. Michael was following through. And how is he? I can't give you details due to confidentiality, but the therapist says he's working. Really working. It's a good sign, ma'am. When I hung up, I wondered, was there hope for Michael, or was it too late? On Friday, I received a letter. It came in a plain white envelope, no return address. I opened it with trembling hands. It was from Michael. Handwritten. Mom, I know I can't call or see you. I understand and respect that. But I need to write this, even if you don't respond. I've been in therapy, as promised. The doctor made me see things I didn't want to see. He made me face the truth. That I became someone you didn't raise. Someone weak. Someone who allowed the person who sacrificed the most for him to be abused. Natalie and I are getting divorced. It was my decision. When the therapist asked me what was more important, my marriage or my integrity, I couldn't answer. And that's when I understood I had lost my integrity a long time ago. I'm not writing this for you to forgive me. I don't deserve your forgiveness yet. I'm writing so you know I'm trying to be better. To be the son Dad would have wanted me to be. The son you deserve. I love you, Mom. And I'm sorry I forgot that while I was chasing things that didn't matter. Michael. The tears fell onto the paper, blurring some of the words. I read it 4 more times. Carol was right. It hurt. It hurt so much. But there was something else, too. A small sprout of hope, fragile, trembling. But it was there. I put the letter in the metal box, next to Robert's. The months passed. September, October, November. I used some of the money Robert had saved to remodel the bathroom, which had needed repairs for years. I hired a young man from the neighborhood, Tony, my neighbor's son. He did excellent work. I also started taking knitting classes at the community center. I met other women my age. We'd meet on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We'd knit, talk, laugh. One of them, Matilda, told me she'd also had problems with her family. Her daughter had borrowed money and never paid her back. But I learned, she told me, that sometimes self-respect is more important than family. And that doesn't make you a bad person. It just makes you a person. Her words stayed with me. In December, 2 weeks before Christmas, Patrick called. Mrs. Johnson, the 1-year mark is almost here. Have you thought about what you want to do? What do you mean? If you want to have contact with your son again, if you want to give him another chance. I hadn't thought about it. I had been so busy rebuilding my life that I hadn't thought about the after. I don't know, Mr. Kelly. I just don't know yet. That's fine. You have time. But be prepared, because when the deadline ends in January, he will likely try to contact you. That night, I took out Michael's letter again. I'd read it so many times I knew every word by heart. What do I do, Robert? I asked the air. Do I give him another chance, or is it too late? There was no answer, just the wind moving the curtains. The week before Christmas, Carol invited me to her house for Christmas dinner. I don't want you to be alone on Christmas, Eleanor. I won't be alone. I'll be at peace. But I accepted the invitation anyway. At Carol's dinner were her kids, her grandkids, her husband, some cousins. There was turkey, eggnog, music. It was warm. It was family. Carol's youngest nephew, a boy of about 6, came up to me. Are you Mrs. Eleanor? Yes, I am, sweetie. My auntie says you're really brave. Is that true? I knelt to his level. What do you think? I think so. Because my mom says brave people are the ones who do the right thing even when it hurts. I hugged him. That little boy knew more about life than many adults. That night, walking home, I went slowly through the streets decorated with Christmas lights. I saw families eating dinner through their windows. I heard carols. I saw kids running with sparklers. And for the first time in months, I thought of Michael as a little boy. When he was 6 and helped me set up the nativity scene, how excited he got about Santa. How he'd hug me before bed. Where did that boy go? When I got to my house, I found something on the porch. A box, not very big, with a red bow. No card. No name. I brought it inside. I opened it carefully. Inside was a photo album. Old photos I hadn't seen in years. Baby Michael. Michael at his first communion. Michael graduating from high school. Michael and me at Myrtle Beach. And on the last page, a recent photo. Michael at his therapist's office. He looked tired, worn out, but there was something different in his eyes. There was a note taped to it. Mom, I found these photos in my house. I realized I had forgotten who we were. Who you were. Who I was. The therapist says remembering is part of healing, so I'm remembering. Every day. Merry Christmas. With love. The son I'm trying to be again. Michael. I closed the album. I hugged it to my chest. And in the solitude of my living room, with only the light from the Christmas tree I'd put up that morning, I did something I didn't expect to do. I forgave. Not completely. Not yet. But a little. Just enough to think that maybe, just maybe. The circus had closed. But the story wasn't over. January came with fresh air and clear skies. January 15th was exactly 1 year since that call when Natalie canceled my birthday, calling it a circus. 1 year since it all started to fall apart. And it was also the day the deadline I set expired. 1 year of no contact. I woke up early that day, made my coffee, just like always. But there was something different in the air, a feeling that something was about to change. At 10 in the morning, the doorbell rang. My heart sped up. I knew who it was. I opened the door slowly. It was Michael. But not the Michael I had seen a year ago. This man looked different, thinner, with dark circles under his eyes. But his eyes had something I hadn't seen in a long time. Clarity. "Mom," he said, his voice trembling. "The year is up. I did everything. Can I come in?" I stepped aside without a word. He walked in as if stepping on sacred ground. He looked around the living room, at the furniture, the photos, as if he was seeing them for the first time. "The house looks beautiful, Mom. You redid the bathroom, and I painted the kitchen. I can tell. Everything looks alive." We sat, him on the sofa, me in my rocking chair, keeping my distance. "Mom, I've rehearsed this moment 1,000 times in my head. What I would say, how I would say it. But now that I'm here, the words feel small." I didn't respond. I just waited. "I'm done with Natalie. We've been divorced for 4 months. She never agreed to go to therapy." I kept going. "I've been in therapy for a full year, Mom. 2 sessions a week." "I know," Patrick kept me informed. "You knew?" "Yes." "He verified that you were complying." Michael nodded. "The therapist helped me see a lot. He helped me understand that I was so afraid of being alone after Dad died that when I found Natalie, I just clung to her. And in clinging, I lost something more important. I lost you." Tears started rolling down his cheeks. He didn't wipe them away. He helped me see that I treated you like a resource, not a person. That I allowed you to be humiliated because it was convenient for me. That I used your unconditional love as a weapon against you. And that I said unforgivable things. "I never asked you to raise me." I repeated his words. "That's what hurt the most, Michael." "I know, and it's what I'm most ashamed of. Because every time I look at those photos I gave you for Christmas, I see your sacrifice in every picture. I see you working, tired, but always smiling at me. And I understand that every day of my life was possible because of your decision to love me." He broke. He cried like I hadn't seen him cry since he was a little boy. "Forgive me, Mom, please. I don't expect you to forgive me now, or tomorrow, or soon. But just give me a chance to show you I can be better. That I can be the son Dad would have wanted me to be." I got up from the rocking chair. I walked over to him. I sat down next to him. "Michael, I'm going to tell you something you need to hear. I'm not going to lie and say everything is fine. Because it's not. You hurt me. Deeply. You let me be humiliated. You made me feel like my entire life was worthless." He sobbed harder. "But I'm also going to tell you something else. You are my son. And even though you hurt me, even though you broke my heart, I am still your mother. And mothers don't abandon, even when their children abandon them." I hugged him. And in that hug, there was pain, but there was something else too. A possible future. "This doesn't mean everything goes back to the way it was," I said. "Because before was broken. We have to build something new, something healthier. Whatever it takes, Mom, whatever you need. You're going to keep going to therapy. I already have an appointment for the day after tomorrow. You're going to respect my boundaries. If I say no to something, it's no. No pressure, no manipulation. I promise. And we're going to take things slow, very slow. 1 visit a week. 1 phone call every 3 days. Nothing more. Until I can trust you again. I accept everything, Mom." We sat in silence for a moment. A different kind of silence, not tense, peaceful. "Are you hungry?" I asked. He smiled. A small, genuine smile. "Always. I'll make something. But you're going to help me in the kitchen. Like when you were a kid." We cooked together for the first time in years. I made grilled cheese sandwiches with the good cheddar Carol had brought me. Michael chopped tomatoes, clumsily, as if he'd forgotten how. "Remember when I taught you how to do this?" I asked. I was, like 7. I cut my finger. You cried like your hand had been amputated. We laughed. A quiet, careful laugh, but a laugh nonetheless. We ate at the dining room table. The same table where he did his homework for years. The same table where the three of us ate dinner when Robert was alive. Mom, can I ask you something? Go ahead. Why didn't you press charges? You had all the proof. You could have sent me to jail. Why didn't you? I took a deep breath. Because you're my son, and because I wanted you to learn, not be destroyed. Prison would have made you a victim. This made you responsible. There's a difference. Michael looked down. I don't deserve your mercy. Nobody deserves mercy. That's why it's called mercy. He stayed until 3 o'clock in the afternoon. We talked about a lot of things. His job, his divorce, his therapy, his plans for the future. When he left, he hugged me at the door. Thank you for giving me another chance, Mom. Don't waste it, son. I won't. I swear on Dad's memory. I watched him walk to his car. Before he got in, he turned and waved. I waved back. I closed the door. I leaned against it. The tears came, but they weren't sad. They were for something I hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. The months went on. Michael kept his word. He came over every Saturday for lunch. He called on Tuesdays and Thursdays. He never asked for money. He never pressured me for anything. In March, he bought me a new rose bush for the garden. A yellow one, to replace the one that died last year, he said. We planted it together, digging in the dirt just as I had with Robert all those years ago. In April, for my 71st birthday, Michael organized a dinner. Small, just the two of us. And Carol, Bill, Patrick, Diana, and Mrs. Miller from the store. There were no big speeches, no drama. Just family, the real family. Michael gave me a simple gift, a picture frame with a new photo. The two of us in the garden, planting the yellow rose bush. For new memories, he said. That night, after everyone had gone, I sat in the garden. The stars were bright. The yellow rose bush already had its first buds. I thought about the whole journey, the pain, the betrayal, the justice, the forgiveness. I thought about Natalie. I'd heard through Carol that she'd moved to another state, that her mother had sold some property to pay off her debts, that she still blamed me for her divorce. I didn't feel satisfaction at her fall. But I didn't feel pity either. Some people choose to learn. Others choose to blame. I thought about Michael, about the man he was trying to be. He wasn't perfect. He still had hard moments. But he was trying. And that was enough for now. And I thought about me. The Eleanor who almost sold her house to please. The Eleanor who almost let herself be crushed. And the Eleanor who learned to say no. I took out Robert's last letter, the one that said, "You are a lioness, not a pet." I did it, my love, I whispered to the wind. I defended myself. I roared. And I survived. The wind rustled the leaves of the yellow rosebush. And in that moment, I felt peace. Because I had learned the most important lesson of all. True wealth isn't in what you own. It's in what you refuse to let be taken from you. Your dignity, your peace, your self-respect. No one can steal that from you, unless you hand it over. And I was never, ever handing it over again. The circus had closed, but I, finally, had learned to live. If this story touched your heart, if you have ever felt pressured by your family, if you've had to choose between pleasing others and respecting yourself, leave me a comment. Tell me where you're watching from. And if you know someone who needs to hear this message, share this video with them. Give it a like if you believe that self-love isn't selfishness, but survival. And subscribe to keep hearing stories of women who stood up when the world tried to kneel them. Because your life isn't a circus. It's a masterpiece, and you are the artist. Until the next story, my dear lionesses, never forget to roar.